No problem. So I'm a midwife. I am a local midwife here in Houston. I do home birth and birth center birth. And so I have a small home birth practice, Full Circle Family Services is my home birth practice. And then I also work full time for a local birth center, Bay Area Community Birth Center. And so I've been there. I've been doing this for 2 years strong, and yeah, it's my life. It's a lifestyle, right? It's a lifestyle. So my kids, my husband, my sister, my niece, like everybody is on board.
So what? Oh, did you want to say something, Z? So what would be the difference between a midwife and a doula?
Ooh, the question of the century. Okay, so the difference between a midwife and a doula is that a doula is a non-medical support person. So she's like your life coach. So that could be anybody. It could be your sister, your mom, your best friend, or somebody that you hire that has gone to some training to kind of understand the signs and stages of labor, to kind of help you and your support person through labor. Whether that's medicated or not, they are there to kind of really help you guys wrap your head around, oh, we're going to have a baby. But she is like I call people, she's just your coach. You know, she's your coach. A midwife is a licensed healthcare provider. So the simplest way I can tell people is I am an OB, but I didn't go to medical school. And I don't do C-sections. So I am a healthcare provider, and I'm licensed through the state of Texas, and that is a midwife. So a midwife draws blood, she does cervical exams, she manages your care just like an OB would.
Okay.
And
See, I don't think a lot of people know about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because it's like this is a real good opportunity for people to get educated on this profession.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, like what does it take getting into that profession, and what are some of the things that come along with it as you kind of learn this process?
Sure. So there's a few paths to come into midwifery, and the one that most people know about is a nurse midwife. And so I do like to tell people that before there was OB, there was midwifery. And OB is because of midwifery. Okay. So there's a few paths. Before there was a CNM, there was a plain old, what they would call lay midwife. Okay. There's a certified midwife, and then there's professional midwives. And every state governs midwifery different. But there's two paths. You either go to nursing school, you go to college, you go to nursing school, and then you have to go practice in labor and delivery for a few years, and then you go back and get your master's in midwifery. So that's a certified nurse midwife. And certified nurse midwives are able to work in hospital settings as well as out of hospital settings. A professional midwife, a certified professional midwife, she is a midwife that either has gone to a midwifery school, that there's different accreditations that some of the schools have, or you're a midwife, you become a CPM by what we call going through like a self-learning process, an apprenticeship, right? So,
and that's the route you went.
And that's the route I went. And the route I went is called PEP, and that is through the National Association of Registered Midwives. It's a path this is my second career, so I have a lot of student debt because I went to college and then I got my master's, and then after having 3 kids via surgical birth, I decided something in this process didn't fit me well. And I didn't know what, but after my babies came, I was like, it just hit me. I became a doula. I went to a training. I became a doula. And my background is in maternal child health. So it's not like I was in accounting and then became a midwife. Like I was already kind of in the mix, right?
For sure.
You were familiar.
I was very familiar. I did childbirth education. I was in the mix. But after they were born, I decided to become a doula. And then in the doula process, I met a midwife. Her name is Afua Hassan with the birthing place. So all of my training came through her. She has since left us. But she is one of the reasons why I'm a midwife. She was my apprentice, or my preceptor.
Right.
And so I learned through her for 2 years, and then as you know, going through to trainings and courses to learn all the things, right? How to suture, all the stuff. And then after her, the midwife I work with now, who is a CNM, I worked with her to kind of hone in on my skills of IVs and stuff like that. So that's kind of that's the path I went, was the PEP route, or you can go. A lot of people now are going through midwifery schools, and then some people go to nursing school and become a CNM so that they can work in hospital settings and things of that nature. Becoming a midwife outside of the hospital setting is very entrepreneurial in nature. So I tell people, it's not, it's feast or famine.
What I read was, and I don't think a lot of people know about this, but midwives can make anywhere between $63,000 and $160,000 a year. And I don't think that that's talked about very much, or the importance of having a midwife is stressed enough.
Sure.
You know?
Are there male midwives?
Are they what?
Are there male midwives?
I only know one male midwife.
Levi,
You said
Levi, are you looking at career options, sir? Yeah. Okay.
And some of that is also based on, like, you know, your volume.
Yeah.
Your volume. So if you're out of the hospital setting, it depends on your volume, the state in which you are practicing midwifery, also the laws around insurance. So everyone loves to use their insurance, but some people don't understand that, like, insurance also doesn't always recognize midwifery as a thing.
And I notice you're saying midwifery. That's the proper term,
Yes,
not midwifery.
Yes.
Okay. That's important to get. Like, you can't be out here in these streets saying midwifery.
No,
Yes.
we want to
It's
pronounce,
midwifery.
We want to pronounce
Yes.
everything correctly.
Yes.
Okay.
And have great terms for it.
Midwifery.
Especially when you
Yeah.
talk, especially when you talk about that kind of money that you can make.
Yeah, you don't be like, I want to get into midwifery.
Respect that. Call it by its name, please.
Right.
So
I hear
midwifery,
that.
Yeah. And some of that, you know, it's hard. It depends on your load, how many clients. And so the difference between a midwife and an OB is that, you know, there's a relationship, right? You get to call me a lot of the time. So if you have a question, you don't go through the answering service. You call me
Directly. So
or
you have a
text me.
direct relationship with someone that can help you if you're having issues with your birth or anything like that,
It
or
don't matter.
throughout your pregnancy.
You bumped your toe.
Wow.
Frances, oh my God, I bumped my toe.
or
Is my
even a
baby
little
okay?
mental distress or anything
All-
like that. You can help with that.
That's the number one thing we deal with.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
can you talk about, you mentioned Afua, which I heard of her from another friend,
Yeah.
and from what I heard, she was very significant in Third Ward.
Yes, very significant.
Can you speak about her, and also if women of color are going more into utilizing that service of midwifery to bring in their
Yes.
child? Yeah.
So in the Black community, midwifery was, in our culture and in our race, was the last to go. Was the last to go. And so Afua, she was a good staple in Third Ward. In the beginning, she'll tell you, she had all of her clientele was white, right? And that's because I think a lot of Black people are like, oh, it's safer to have a baby in a hospital, you know. And everybody's perception, I tell people, is different. Like, your perception of safe doesn't have to be the same as the next person, just like taste, temperature, all of that is
Your
subjective.
experiences,
Yes,
yeah.
and your experiences and what you grew up knowing, right? So not a lot of us know, like, oh, my grandmother had 2 of my aunts at home, or, you know, we don't get that information all the time.
Right.
But due to the infant mortality rates for African American women here in the United States, our women and our children die 4 times the rate of, in comparison to whites, Hispanics, and those of Asian descent.
Wow, so we should just be celebrating, like, being here right now.
Yeah,
4 times the rate is crazy.
4 times the rate, and
Yeah.
that doesn't, like, that excludes, like, how much money you made,
Wow.
how much education you have. It doesn't matter.
Just the birthing experience.
Just the birthing experience. In general, our women are are to die 4 times more. And so because of that, in this century, midwifery is on the uptick for some families. There's a lot of trauma that happens in a hospital setting for some women, just because you may have a relationship with the physician, but that doesn't mean that's who's going to be at your birth. But with midwifery, you're going to see my face, right? Even if it's like in our birth center, there's 3 of us, but you're going to see at least 2 of the 3 of us, if that makes sense. So you know who's coming to your birth. It's not going to be this random person you've
Just
never
rando.
met. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're going to be putting your
Looking at
hands
all
in
my
my vagina.
insides. Yeah.
Right. This is excellent. What's your name? So there's more of a relationship. And a FUA really helped that come on board, I think. She's a traditional midwife, so she really focuses on, like, what's going on in your spirit. Like, why are you coming to midwifery? Because I tell people midwifery is not for everybody, and that's okay. You know, because midwifery should be healing for women coming into motherhood. I mean, that's a big deal. There's not a book for it. I mean, there's books, but it's an experience.
There are no books for the individual experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so she really, like, your relationship with your partner. I mean, it's this very deep, like, what's going on in your relationship? What's, you know, and it's not like that she wanted to know your business, but she also understood that if you and your partner are at odds, coming into birth, that impacts your birth experience. How well you can, you know, interface with your own body and listen to your own body and really connect to your baby. Like, all that, the outside energy impacts a woman and how she comes into birth. And so that is what I learned first and foremost in midwifery, is that it is very, like, it gives women power, right? I tell people, like, yeah, I know how labor works, but it's your baby, it's your body, you don't know?
Right.
Okay, if you don't know, then we need to help you know, because if something's going on with you, I don't have ESP. Like, I can't call you in the middle of the night and be like, hey, I had a dream your baby wasn't moving. Like, I don't know. So if you don't know that, then I can't help you. So midwifery empowers women to listen to their inner self, right? And as a doula, I used to get a lot, well, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. You don't have to be a doctor to know what's going on in your body.
Like, something is off.
Yeah, like, it's your
Yeah.
body. It's not
Yeah.
the doctor's body. It's not even the midwife's body. It's your body. And so there's a lot of empowerment, and Afua brought that. And I think word got out that there's this, like, black midwife who's very, very, very connected to who she is as a black woman.
And to the community.
And so word got out, and then the uptick of how many blacks were coming into midwifery grew and grew. And so now that I'm a midwife, I think 90% of my practice are black women, and then the rest are of Hispanic or Caucasian descent. And so it works, but I think more black women are seeing, oh wow, there's another option for me. And it's hard for people to wrap their head around, like, oh, you want to have a baby with no medicine? Oh my God, it's awful. And it does hurt. I tell people, yeah, it hurts. It don't feel good at all, but it's not about that for some women. And it is for others, and that's okay. And so our job is to help women connect to that and find tools. Because I tell people, having a baby is like, the moment you find out you're pregnant, you get to work. You get to work. And I tell people, like, I can't make a baby come out of your body, right? And at the hospital, they can. They do C-sections if they can't get a baby. I can't do that. So if I can't do it, then that's where you're going. But I tell people in consultations that if you're willing to work and invest in your experience, 9 times out of 10, it'll work just fine, right? So sometimes you got to spend a little cash to get you some chiropractic care, to get you some acupuncture, to, you know, do herbs and things of that nature.
But it helps your total...
helps your total experience. And it's like a marathon, right? Like, I'm not going to show up tomorrow for the Houston Marathon like, all right, I signed up to 18 months ago, let's do this.
Like, just came from Walking Stick, hey.
Yeah, they're going to, those people prepare. And that is what birth is.
Right.
Not only for the woman, but for her partner, whoever that may be for her. We're preparing for, like, how this is going to look, how the pain is going to look.
Yeah, that's almost a whole year.
It is.
A whole year you have to
10 months.
Yeah.
Right? 42 weeks.
Yeah.
And so our job is to prepare women and their families for kind of what to expect. And that doesn't always look the same for everybody, but that preparation looks a variety of ways for everybody. So midwifery is very individualistic. There are some things that everybody gets, but you know, we really care about what's happening in your mind, what's happening in your spirit, because if that comes to birth, sometimes you're like, oh, that's the problem.
What does that initial process look like when you start building that familiarity with somebody? Yeah, what does that beginning process look like?
Sure. So in the state of Texas, everybody has to have a consultation because midwives can only care for women who are low risk. And low risk means you're not coming to birth or coming into your experience with comorbidities like diabetes, high blood pressure, some surgeries that may not really go well with you being pregnant, and not so much age. I do tell people not so much age, right? But just like your overall health, right? So we ask questions like sexual trauma, depression, anxiety, like those things matter because sometimes it's out of our scope. Like some stuff you're like, I don't know how to deal with that.
Like
you need to
we actually need a
you need to go, or you just
psychologist
really do need to be in a hospital setting because you need closer care than what midwives can provide. So there's a consultation, and then sometimes you get a good feel. And the question you do ask is why? Why do you want this?
Right.
And the answer is not because I always wanted it. That's not the answer. We get that a lot. Oh, I just want a water birth. I watch a lot of YouTube. That's great. You know, I want $1 million. But, you know, I watch a lot of that too. But there's steps to that.
Yeah.
So one of it is, you know, like, what are you willing to do to get what you want, right? And why are you choosing midwifery outside of having your baby in the hospital? And then, you know, like, how do you cope with pain? Like, have you envisioned yourself doing this in this way? And so once you get a good feel as a midwife, you're like, okay, I kind of like that couple. That was, I felt that. And them too, you tell them, like, you should interview other people, right? You should interview other people. Because I tell people, just because I'm black and you're black doesn't make us a good fit, right? My white sister could be the right one for you, and that's who you need to go with.
People are people.
Right? And so, you know, I tell couples you need to then now, after we've talked, you go and make sure that the cost fits your pocketbook, and that this is something you really want to do, right? And typically, if they say yes, most midwives will see clients anywhere between you can start care 8 to 12 weeks. And then we see all clients pretty similar to an OB, monthly, and then once you get to a certain point, every 2 weeks, and you know,
every week,
and then every week, and then we're waiting for a baby, right? And then we see clients postpartum as well. So care looks very similar. You come in, you pee in a cup, we check your pee, we listen to the baby, we weigh you, blood pressure, same thing that the OB would do. It's the almost the exact same thing. So it takes just a few minutes to do those things. It's like 5 minutes to do all of that.
So when people have midwives, they're still going to their OBGYN?
No, they are not.
So you
it
completely replace.
It is a huge insult.
I didn't know that. Okay, so you completely replace an OBGYN.
So if you told me, oh my God, I want to hire you, I'm so great. I am your care provider.
Okay.
I am legally responsible for you and your baby.
So let me ask this then. With that, in regards to that practice, is there any research that conflates midwifery with, say, child development, the uptick of cognition or some kind of
Sure.
or the decline of autism or something to that effect?
Well, I don't know for sure in relation to. Let me say what I do know. What I do know is that midwifery does. Because what we do know is that the person inside of you, the baby growing inside of a woman, is a person, and it experiences the world in which you experience it as well. And so the birth experience implants an experience on your child. And most of us don't remember that experience.
But it doesn't mean it doesn't affect you later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of research around how a birth experience implants on a child and how they are as a person personality-wise. So if you're a surgical birth, if you were a birth that had to use birth instruments or anything like that. And so with midwifery, it's very hands-off. I shouldn't say very, but we're more hands-off. So a woman can do what she wants. She can labor how she wants. She can have the baby in the water, which is a less traumatic experience for the baby. We leave that cord and placenta attached for as long as the family would like, so that baby gets all of that blood flow and nutrients from the placenta. So it does give a baby kind of a...
What's the longest you've seen that done?
The placenta. So some people do what we call a lotus birth. And a lotus birth is where the family wants to keep it attached until the placenta and everything attached to the baby until it falls off. And sometimes that's like a week.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's interesting.
So, to each his own.
Wow.
I would not do that. But we have family, they want to keep it. That's fine. But we make sure that they have what they need so that organ doesn't become... it doesn't get infected and then infect the baby. You know what I mean? Because it is flesh.
Yeah, I'm like,
so it's done.
Sounds like
but
it
you
could
know,
be a
hey,
stinky
Henrietta Lacks, you know about that story. As far as Gila. But I'm saying that because of the cord blood.
Yeah.
And the enriched nutrients of that blood, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Why we are, yes.
Yeah.
Why we have cancer, yes.
Yeah.
So we support those things for families, right? We support those things for families. I mean, I don't mind it as long as they know what they're doing. I always ask, well, do you know what a lotus birth is?
Or the expectation.
Yeah. You know what that is? Because I don't prepare the placenta. Families have... Midwifery is about you taking ownership of you, not me taking ownership of you. I'm just guiding you along. That rain is coming.
Okay.
My God.
I'm just a guide.
That amplified what you said. Midwifery is about.
That's from the Opal spoken tongues earlier.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Okay.
We're banned from TV.
I'm kidding. Okay.
Let me ask this question. I'm done before we get struck by lightning over here. Is there any subsidized programs for, community members who may not have the financial wherewithal to participate in that?
Here in Houston, I'm not aware of any. I'm not aware. I know there's a lot going for having doulas covered under insurance, and I know the city of Houston, is it the city of Houston or Harris County? They have a program to kind of pay midwives to be with women of color in hospital settings. I know there's a program for that, but in terms of if you just are gun-ho about, I'm not having my baby in the hospital, we do tell families, you gotta go. You gotta go find them dollars to get it done.
Wow.
And I'm going to be very frank, and that people do.
Oh, that's awesome.
People will pay for what they value. I mean, I have seen people on Medicaid pay a FUA her price.
Wow.
Even if she gives them a discount, they go make that money to get their price. They go do it.
Are there grants set up for that, or? Wow.
That's what's needed.
Now, there's people, I've seen couples put up GoFundMe accounts or stuff like that to kind of help, or instead of baby gifts, they ask for money through their baby shower, stuff like that. But some people, if they have insurance and they have those flex spending accounts, they'll use that. There's those insurance, what are they called? Share plans. I can't, and some people will do that. So it just depends. When people are on Medicaid, which is fine, it's great. No big deal to me. It's just that they don't reimburse. You get honestly pennies.
The minimum.
And the minimum
if that.
Pennies.
I have a question for you, if y'all don't mind. So earlier, it struck me. You said something about you could tell personalities, right? Because of the way people come into the world. So when you meet people, do you kind of have a clue about how they came in a little bit? Do you, as a midwife, do you kind of have a feeling about oh yeah, this person came in through a midwife, this person had a little trauma, this person, do you get a vibe?
All the time. No. I hadn't gotten that good yet. Let me say
Okay.
that. I hadn't gotten that
I
good
was
yet.
just curious when you said that. This is the first thing that popped in my head. Like, I wonder
Like,
if
so-
she kind of knows.
Yeah.
Like, oh
You're
yeah,
a
that's a
fraud.
natural birth. That's a natural birth.
I hadn't gotten
That's
that.
a test tube baby. You know, like I don't know.
Wow.
They put Coca-Cola in the tub with
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Something wrong
yeah.
with you.
Yeah, that girl there. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
just curious.
I
yeah.
hadn't gotten that good. There may be some midwives that can, but
Okay.
I hadn't gotten that.
That's very interesting
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. But you can tell, you know, if a woman is going to really show up for her process, and if her partner is there also to support her through her process. And I tell
Okay.
people too, like, if your partner's not on board, it's not a good fit.
It's gonna be difficult, yeah.
Because they, trust me, it can get real live.
And that's added stress too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super added stress.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, Frances, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, thank
You
you.
have enlightened me and a lot of others to this process.
Like seriously, this is the quietest we've seen Z in a long time. Like
Because
he
I'm
was
so
like amazed.
interested.
He
Yeah.
was glued.
I
Yeah.
was interested.
Yeah.
And I asked my question because I got to learn what I wanted to know.
Yes.
I'm curious about that initiation process, the beginning process of it. You know, because you have to. I mean, you start with a total stranger, and you ask them to trust you for them to be able to trust you with their bodies.
Yes.
That's huge.
Yep.
So I'm totally into this.
We tell people a lot about energy. You can feel the energy,
Yeah.
right? And so you
Energy
can
is
tell that
number one.
even on the phone. Like you can
I
be
bet.
like,
Yes.
I've even told people, can we meet in person?
Yes, so
Just
you can
because
get a
like I
better-
can't. Sometimes over the phone you like,
You can mask that.
But then when you see them, you like, okay, I like. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Like
good.
Yeah.
It's all about the vibes.
All about the
I
vibes.
feel
So.
that.
Full Circle Family Services. You can find, I think my handle is superfran1130 on Instagram.
Okay.
And then Bay Area Community Birth Center for those of you who are looking to use insurance, including Medicaid, but you're not sure about having a baby at home. There's a birth center, and we do home birth at the birth center as well. But it's Bay Area Community Birth Center, and you can find us on Instagram as well. So, and she's a Black midwife too. Like we're the only two right now licensed midwives in the state in Houston, Texas.
Wow. Wow.
And when I say licensed, I mean that work outside of the hospital. Oh, and I lied. There's one more. Her name is LaMonica Hollins, and she just got licensed as well. So we're the only three. Now that Afua has transitioned, there's just three of us. And before she transitioned, it was just Stephanie and her.
Wow.
And then I came out, and so there was three of us. And then Afua transitioned, and so now it was just me and Stephanie, and now LaMonica. So there wasn't a lot of color in the market if you were looking to do something outside of the hospital.
Man, thank you, Frances. This is
Hey,
so
give it up for
good.
Frances, y'all. That was
Yeah,
good.
this is really good. Yeah,
This was eye-opening.
really was. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad.
So we appreciate the time, and
Thank
we're going
you
to be
guys.
coming back right into this, as we're going to go and do a little more celebrating Women's Appreciation Day.
Women's Appreciation Day.
Hot topic, world.
Got to put that Star Wars voice.